Resources in Honkai Star Rail are extremely scarce, so it is vital to know who you will invest in. Let's see the top 10 4-star characters that we, free-to-play players, must build. March 7th, although she's in 10th place, she's very good and usable in several occasions, mainly for being able to act as a support or tank depending on the need of your team. She's on the preservation path and deals ice damage, making her a good target to be our first tank early in the game. But your kit makes things more versatile. Her skill applies a single target shield that will last for 3 turns. In addition, if the ally has above 30% of their HP, they will have their aggro increased, becoming even more of a target for the opponents. Her shields combo perfectly with her talent, which makes March to perform a follow-up attack after an opponent hits any ally with a shield, with the only limit being that it can only be triggered twice per turn, allowing March to apply some damage and recover a little bit of energy. Finally, her ultimate, in addition to dealing ice damage to all opponents, has a 50% base chance to freeze them for 1 turn, offering 1 more turn of protection to your allies. March doesn't depend on a high investment to support your team, offering shields and freezes and increasing everyone's protection. Yukong is an extraordinary support character, with impressive buffs and able to provide imaginary damage, a rare trait among the units. However, at the same time, she's one of the most difficult units to build. Her entire kit revolves around her skill, which when used, grants 2 stacks of roaring bowstrings. This greatly increases the attack of her allies. However, with each turn taken by an ally, 1 stack of roaring bowstrings is consumed. It is important to highlight that this stack is only consumed when an ally turns passes, so ultimates do not consume the roaring bowstring stacks, but this buff can be further enhanced with her ultimate. When used, Yukong unleashes a powerful attack on a single enemy, and beyond that, if you have roaring bowstrings active, you will increase the crit rate and crit damage of all allies. You may not have noticed yet, but it is precisely this mechanic that makes Yukong so complex. Since the stacks are consumed by the next unit's turns, it is necessary to have a well-adjusted speed turning so your team can truly benefit from the buffs. Asta, the lead researcher of Hertha Space Station, is a fantastic support for your team, especially when facing enemies weak to fire. Asta's talent is quite unique. She gains a stack of charging for each different enemy hit, with a maximum of 5 stacks. For each stack of charging, all her allies receive an attack increase. But starting from the 2nd turn, Asta loses 3 stacks of charging at the beginning of each turn. However, for each enemy hit with weakness to fire, Asta gains 1 extra stack. Due to this mechanic, Asta excels at dealing with hordes of enemies, especially those vulnerable to fire. Her skill helps increase her stacks. It is a multi-hit attack that targets the first selected opponent and fires 4 more hits at random. On one hand, focusing on one single opponent deals a massive damage, but won't grant her stacks. On the other hand, spreading the attacks increases her stacks and consequently the attack of the entire team. Asta's ultimate is perhaps her most impressive aspect. It grants all her allies and a speed buff for 2 turns, allowing them to increase their DPS and making it easier to manage the limit of turns in the Memory of Chaos. Although not a 4-star unit, our beloved Trailblazer is free to play and deserves a spot on the list. Therefore, in the 7th place, we have the Fire MC. The Fire MC is undoubtedly one of the best options at the moment. He can act as a support, providing shields to his entire team while tanking opponents. His skill taunts all enemies and grants him a damage reduction buff. It is worth noting that once the taunt is applied, it ensures that the enemy will attack him, even those with lock on. His talent allows the MC to receive 1 stack of Magma Will when using his basic attack, skill, or when hit by an enemy. Upon obtaining 4 stacks, his next basic attack becomes enhanced, dealing more damage, more toughness damage, and producing splash damage. But beyond this mechanic, his talent also ensures that each action of the Fire Trailblazer applies a 2-turn duration shield to all his allies. Finally, his ultimate deals an AoE damage to all his enemies, making it very effective to weakness break and once again applying shield to all his allies. Susheng is a unit from the Hunt path, naturally excelling in single target damage, but her kit goes far beyond that. Her skill deals some good damage to a single target, and on top of that, has a 33% chance to deal an additional bonus damage. However, here is the crucial part. If the enemy has his weakness broken, the bonus damage is guaranteed. Her ultimate also offers a single target damage, but also advances her turn by 100%. It is not an extra turn, but rather attacking twice. Susheng also receives an attack bonus for 2 turns. Her skill gets 2 extra chances to trigger the bonus damage, and the bonus damage has its effectiveness increased to 50% for 2 turns. Essentially, after using her ultimate, Susheng potentially has 3 instances of bonus damage that can be triggered. Combine that with opponents who have weaknesses broken, and you have a powerful weapon in your hands. Execute a sequence of skill, ultimate, and skill again and watch the bosses explode. But don't think it stops there. I haven't even mentioned her talent yet. Whenever any enemy receives a weakness break, Susheng gets a speed boost for 2 turns. Susheng is a demon for any opponent with weakness break, inflicting a hellish amount of damage. Servo is one of the best AoE damage dealers, capable of competing with Jin Yuan, so pay close attention to her. Her kit makes it simple for Servo to apply shock and continue extending its effect with her ultimate. Her skill is an attack on a single enemy, with splash damage to close targets. Moreover, there is an 80% base chance to apply shock to all enemies hit, lasting for 2 turns. The most impressive part is that this damage scales with her trace level, contributing to the overall damage applied throughout the battle. Servo's ultimate deals AoE damage to all opponents on the field and extends the debuff for an additional 2 turns. To top it off, her talent grants Servo additional lightning damage to all shocked enemies whenever she attacks. This combination of debuff extension from the ultimate and bonus damage with her talent allows Servo to be any skill point neutral unit. Da Heng is one of the first units you received, but do not underestimate him. He'll have a high impact on your composition. Throughout the game, you will encounter numerous enemies weak to wind. Also, being a hunt character, he'll be very useful in the Forgotten Hall and Memory of Chaos, especially when focusing against single bosses. Da Heng works exceptionally well with other buffers due to his talent. Whenever he's targeted by an ally's ability, his next attack receives a boost on wind resistance penetration, with a cooldown of 2 turns. Therefore, he pairs well with characters like March 7th, Tingyun, and Natasha. His skill deals several hits and has a 100 base chance of applying a 12% slow to your enemies for 2 turns. It is important to note that each hit has a chance of applying the debuff. His ultimate is a single big hit with a good multiplier that becomes an obscene multiplier when used against slowed enemies. When you analyze his kit, it becomes clear that to optimize his damage, you need to use his skill to slow your targets and then follow up with his ultimate to unleash a devastating blow on your enemies. Natasha offers one of the most necessary traits in Honkai Star Rail, to be a healer. And to make her even better, Natasha is a free unit that we receive during our missions. She's very good, but many players don't invest in her because the early quests are quite easy. However, the more we advance to the late game and the difficulty spikes, the more valuable Natasha becomes. Her skill is a single target heal that scales with Natasha max HP plus a flat amount. It also applies a regen over time for 2 turns, allowing you to continue healing your ally while Natasha recovers skill points. Her ultimate heals all your allies, scaling similarly to her skill, based on her max HP and a flat amount. It is an excellent way to recover your team after taking area damage and making them safer. Moreover, the ultimate only costs 90 energy, making it easy to have it available. To complete Natasha's kit, her talents increase the outgoing healing whenever she applies a heal to an ally with less than 30% HP. This effect applies not only to direct heals, but also to regens. Bella has one of the most unique kits in Honkai Star Rail. She completely focuses on inflicting debuffs on her enemies, being capable of shredding their defenses. This makes her useful in any team you can think of. Bella's ultimate deals damage to all enemies on field and has a 100% base chance to inflict exposed status, reducing the enemy's defenses. This effect provides a boost to your team's damage and is extremely reliable due to its high base chance. Her talent allows her to gain a flat amount of energy upon debuffing a target. Breaking weaknesses will apply freeze, which is also a debuff, so Bella can benefit from this talent through more than just her ultimate. Sadly, this energy recovery is only applied once per attack. Her skill deals a single target damage, and more importantly, has a dispel effect, removing 1 buff from the enemy hits guaranteed. With this kit, Bella's role in the teams become enable your damage dealer by restoring skill points with basic attacks, and support them by shredding your enemy defenses, occasionally using your skill to dispel the enemy buffs. Tingyun, in my opinion, is the best 4-star character in the game. She enables and supports every kind of character, as well as buffing the hell out of your primary damage dealer and acting as a sub-damage dealer. Her skill buffs an ally, increasing their attack and scaling based on Tingyun's attack. While your ally is buffed, they'll deal a bonus lightning damage based on their attack when hitting the enemies. Her buff lasts for 3 of the ally's turns. Her ultimate is also a single target ally buff. It restores 50 energy for the ally, as well as increasing the damage dealt for 2 turns. This is amazing. Tingyun is the only unit in the game that can grant direct energy to allies. Units that are reliant on their ultimates or that can benefit from having more usage of their ultimates automatically combo with her. But don't forget, there is still a huge damage boost for the ally for 2 turns. Combined with Tingyun's skill, she can absolutely skyrocket a single character, allowing them to do immensely more damage. This is my top 10 list, but what others 4 stars are left out and should be here? Leave in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe to make sure you never miss a 50-50. And see you next time.
It's that time again, so get busy with it. Best go find your friends and get jiggy.